Howdy everybody, welcome aboard this virtual safari. For those of you that are celebrating Easter this weekend, I hope you're having a magnificent time. For the rest of you that aren't celebrating this weekend, I hope your weekend has been just as enjoyable. Shortly after leaving camp, we've just heard over the radio that the Xinkhova female has been found pretty close by. So there's a few vehicles there. We're going to just bumble around now waiting for an opportunity to open up, and then we'll get across there and see what she's up to. While we were mingling around waiting to get into that sighting, we've just bumped into a herd of elephants who are all out in the open feeding here. It looks as though there's a large elephant bull in amongst them. He looks as though he's in what's known as Musth, which is a heightened testosterone state, where he's now actively seeking out any females in the hopes of trying to mate with them. And so you can see he's now moving along and sniffing the genitalia of a few of these females, hoping to then determine whether they're in heat or not. And what he's essentially trying to do is sniff their hormone content and then use a organ in the top of his palate. It's known as a vomeral nasal organ, or the organ of Jacobson. That's able to determine what hormones are flowing through the female's urine and whether it's worth him pursuing the female or not. He can be quite boisterous and struts around with his head held quite high, and we can tell he's in Musth because he's dribbling from his temporal glands, that in conjunction with him constantly oozing a urine type fluid from his penile sheath, which then stains the insides of his back legs. And that, together with how he's strutting around, all tells us that he is in Musth. Females that are on heat or in estrus or ready to mate will only mate with a male that is in Musth. And so how that works is often the males that are in Musth will then trail these herds of females looking for one to mate with or one that's in heat. And in doing that, there's going to bound to be a few males that then follow that herd, and the males will then battle it out with each other for dominance and essentially the rights to mate with a female. The winner will suppress the Musth in the loser, and so therefore the female knows that if this male is roaming around with other males around here and he is in Musth, he is most likely the superior or the better genes to mate with. But it appears, just based on his behavior, that none of them are in heat, and there's a few youngsters moving around, which are always awesome to watch. They're now slowly ambling off into the distance. I don't want to necessarily follow this herd of elephants because I don't want this male to then all of a sudden turn his boisterous nature towards us and try and push us away, because in this area it's pretty wet, it's pretty soft ground, and if we have to drive off-road to get away, we might end up getting ourselves stuck, which we don't necessarily want to do if we've got an elephant hot on our tail. So we're just going to drive up the crest now, sit out there, wait for a chance to get across to the Xinkhova female, see what other birds we can find as we're waiting. So I just had an idea of heading down to one of the water holes not too far from here while we wait. And as we're turning around, we then have found a few different starlings. One looks like it's a greater blue-eared starling, as well as a gorgeous, stunning violet-backed starling. And so that's an absolutely gorgeous view of them right up here. Luckily I could get the 600mm out just in time to watch them hopping around here. So just got the call from Shadrach that we can head across to the Xinkhova female. So we're on our way across there. Obviously I'm going to have to change out the lens because this is maybe a little bit of overkill for a leopard if she's moving. But you know what, let's see, let's get in there, see what's happening, and then we'll make the decision. initially, I thought it would be better to go with the smaller lens. But once we got in here, we've only got a slight view of her through some of the thicker vegetation. So we've had to resort to going back to the big lens to try and get a view. So she had got up and started moving pretty abruptly without much forewarning, and it wasn't long before she walked right past Kyle's vehicle and then hopped up into a fallen marula tree, which was a pretty awesome view to get started. And then Kyle and Geshem turned on their spotlight and were just shining on the tree just beneath her. And that scene of just illuminating her with some dramatic clouds in the background and a vast expanse beyond was pretty spectacular. She's now dropped down and she's walking off into the distance. I don't want to follow her for too much longer because by us being around and shining a spotlight, the sound of the vehicle, it's all going to possibly impact her hunt or potential hunts that she may then have or encounter. So we're going to leave her now. We're going to slowly amble back towards camp. But what a spectacular afternoon, starting off with the elephants, then some of the birds and the starlings, and eventually ending off with an incredible sighting of the Xinkhova female. So it doesn't get much better than that. We're going to start heading back towards camp. But if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up or hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying these virtual safaris. But it's enough from me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you all again next week.